Today I thought I would do a bit of a half and half comparison phase between high street drugstore brands that you can get here in the UK versus the high-end high street kind of, things you get in Space NK, for instance, or Sephora. I spent a long time in my earlier life very much only using Boots and Superdrug. The last few years I have clearly developed a bit of a problem, and I dread to think how much money I've spent on makeup from both high street and high-end brands. So I thought, why not do a quick side-by-side comparison? Without further ado, let's crack on. First step is primer. There we go. And I'm going to keep my right-hand side. It's going to be high street. It's going to be high-end, and this side is going to be high street. On the high-end side, first of all, I'm using the Avant Pro Collagen Isodecane Trolamine Prophylactyl Caprylite Stereth Profecting Collagen Primer. I mean, it should be high end with a name like that. I got it in a beauty calendar. I'd never really sort of heard of it before. I have looked it up online. I think the RRP is something staggering. Like, absolutely up to you if you want to spend that much on a primer. I would normally say I absolutely don't. Sadly, I have really enjoyed this, so I'm going to miss it when it runs out. I'm not going to draw a line down my face like some people do when they do these kinds of videos because, as I said, I need to go out after that. On the high street side, I've tried to go for a sort of similar, this is kind of a moisturising primer more than it is a grippy primer. So this, I've gone for the Revolution Ceramide Primer with ceramide, hyaluronic acid, rosehip oil, grapeseed, camellia oil, and wild pansy extract. So again, this is not a particularly grippy one. This is more of a moisturizer. It's a it's a sort of similar texture. The Avant one is quite a sort of thin gel-like texture. This is slightly thicker, but still, it still sinks in pretty easily. And apologies as well if you see this. I managed to peel the varnish off my nail last night. Right, there we go. So you can see, very similar finish, both kind of sheeny, good levels of hydration in there. Perfect. So onto foundations. So I've said before, I always like mixing my foundation with, normally it's a bit more dewy. So on the high-end side, going to be going Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Perfect Glow Flawless Foundation. And on the high street side, I'm going for the Maybelline Superstay 30 Hour Lumi Matte Foundation because they've got that sort of slightly similar, demi-matte kind of finish. So I'm just going to mix what I normally do in, but on the high street side, it's the Glotion, which I mix into all my foundations generally. Now on the high-end side, I'm going to go for the Vive Skin Nova Instant Radiance Primer. Now both of these you could just put on the skin and then foundation over the top. Just for sort of ease and not wanting to put so much product on my skin, I'm actually just going to mix both of them on the back of my hand. So just going to put a bit of the V, which you can see it's quite a sort of goldy colour, but it's very sheer. It shears out really nicely. When you look at the ingredients, there's lots of oils, there's lots of kind of natural oils and things to really sort of get that hydration in there. And then I'm just going to put a bit of the Giorgio Armani on top. I'm also hoping as I'm doing this that actually these shades of foundation match. They're both ones I wear in winter, so I'm hoping they are vaguely similar shades. Otherwise, I'm going to be looking slightly odd when I go out. Right, there we go. And also for ease, I am going to be using the same brush for both. So I hope no one takes offence at that and thinks it's going to make it unfair on the half I do second, because obviously it might have some residue of the first on it. They're both really lovely finishes. I always feel like I sound very rude when I talk about the Armani one because I think it was one of those things I bought. It was expensive. I had such high hopes, and the first time I tried it, I was like, oh God, I hate it. So I think it's kind of set up an instinctive reaction. My brain, I'm not going to like it, but it's actually pretty nice. So this is the Glotion. This is the shade 902. So you can see it's slightly pinkier than the gold than the Vive one, but you won't notice that when it's mixed in with foundation. And then similarly, just a bit of that on top. My plan is later this evening, I will just do a quick little video check-in to see also how both sides lasted through the day. And if one's separated, if one's come off, all of this fun stuff, which hopefully some of you may find useful if you're debating, trying to weigh up the merits of spending, you know, in some cases 2, 3, 4 times the price for, you know, products that do very similar things. Actually, I've never actually done this before. I've never done a half and half face because I've only pretty recently started filming myself doing makeup, and obviously what sane, normal person would do it just for fun, for their own enjoyment. maybe people do. Maybe I'm being judgy. Right. Now I know I'm having to do it with a light rather than in daylight because it's not daylighting today. It's miserable outside. So I will go to the window and do once I've done the rest of the cream products. But on first impressions, you know, does it look any different? Not hugely. I can't see any difference myself. It doesn't feel any different. Both sides feel really light and moisturizing. So yeah, pretty good so far, holding up high street versus high end. Now, next in my routine is liquid bronzer. So for the high-end side, and I'm doing the same make actually for all the blushes and bronzers on both because I just can't. So all of my cream colour products on the high-end side are going to be Rare Beauty because they're also what I've got sitting here. So I've got the new contour, liquid contour that she's brought out, which is in the shade Solace. And then I've got two of her soft pinch blushes in Happy and Joy, which is sort of pink and coral. And then highlighter, always wearing this. This is the liquid luminizer in the shade Enlighten. So that's going to be the high-end side. And then the high street side, I'm just going to, because to be honest, I don't really have many liquid bronzers. I've got some liquid blushes, but not really liquid bronzers. So what I've gone for instead, which they'll give a similar effect at the end, so I'm not too bothered. This is actually made by Metro Curve Case. Now I love this thing. You can get it on, well, I get most of my stuff on TikTok Shop from him, but you can buy it on ASOS, you can buy it on Beauty Bay, probably others, I can't remember. But this is the medium curve case, and so it's bronzers, and he always does a couple of cooler tones and a couple of warmer tones, and then blushes, corally and pink, hence why I picked corally and pink on the Rare Beauty side, unsurprisingly. And then I've also gone for one of his blushes in a sort of highlight formula, which is called Frosty Fields. So without further ado, let's crack on with this. So I always do bronzer first. There we go. The contour has come out quite recently. It was a very quick purchase when I saw that coming out. So I'm still sort of experimenting with exactly how much to use and put on. I mean, the Rare Beauty stuff is gorgeous. You can sort of hopefully see how easily and quickly it just sinks into the skin. It blends so beautifully into foundation. And although that's quite a dark colour, as you can see, you know, you don't need very much because it just kind of shears in, melts in really beautifully. I go in with probably one of the cooler tone bronzers, given this is a contour shade, not a bronzer shade. So let's go with this one, which is Caramel Chisel. And again, you don't need a lot of this because the pigments that he brings for the cost of it. I mean, I think these curve cases, I think full price RRP is about 30, whereas the Rare Beauty contour, just for that, I mean, you get a lot of product. I mean, I think I'll be dead before I've run out of that. Is I think 27 from, I got mine in Space NK. But then for blush, so I'm only used 2 just because I quite like it's like a sunset effect. So I'm going to go in with the shade Happy, And because her pigment is so good, I mean, these again will last for a million years. So, I mean, I think the minis, I want to say, are about 15 quid maybe in Space NK. The full size, oh my god, well, as you can see, look at that pigment. I mean, I've just put on far too much. I'm gonna look like a clown. Also, trying to do blush on only one side of your nose is amazingly difficult. I think the full size ones are about 24. I'm just gonna go over with my foundation just around the edge, just to sort of calm that down a bit, because that was quite an intense amount of blusher on there. On this side, as I said, I'm going to carry on using this, and I'm going to go in between the pink and the orange to make it match, hopefully. I have to say both of these brands are just gorgeous at just sinking into your skin, into your foundation, you know, and both dry down really nicely, but they both sort of maintain their glow. I'm just going to check in a mirror, just because I can't always see so well in the viewfinder if it's looking. So again, I'm just going in with my foundation brush just to kind of take down some of the extreme colour. But those are, hopefully picking up on camera, looking again so similar in finish. You know, they have a really glowy finish, not patchy. Yeah, pretty good. Still holding up, you know, high end versus high street. So before I do liquid highlighter, I'm actually just going to do concealer. High end side concealers, Kosas, which is one I've talked about a lot. I use it a lot of the time. I love it. It doesn't crease. It's beautiful. I can't recommend them highly enough. They are about 26, I think. Again, Space NK is where I get mine. This is in the shade 3.6C, which is my warmer colour because I am still a little bit tan from holiday, not as much as I was, but a bit. But then to go in the corners to brighten, my other concealer, which I adore, sort of high-end one, is the Hourglass concealer. It's really full coverage. It's probably more full coverage than this. I also have it in the colour Cream, which is quite pale. So I either use it when I'm deeply pale in the middle of winter, or I use it just as sort of the brightening side on the inner corner. So that's going to be my high-end side. And then my high street side, I think these are brilliant concealers. These are the Multitasker Concealer from Rimmel. I think that, I mean, they're clearly, you can read off their packaging, meant to be a dupe of the Tarte Shape Tape, which, to be honest, I've actually never used the actual Tarte Shape Tape. But these are amazing. Again, they're very good at not creasing. And for fair comparison, I've got them in two different shades. I've got Ivory and Classic Beige. So this will be the darker one. This one I'll use just on the inner corner. I'm just going to do a bit there, bit in there, and then up here, which will also help blend in the blusher around the side. And then I quite often just do a little bit just where I sort of get a bit of redness, and then I'm just going to put a bit there for brightening, bit there for brightening, and I could do a bit like that. Why not? Let's go full on. And then I'm going to do the same. So this is with the Classic Beige. And I'm going to do the dark ones first and blend them in, then I'll do the brighteners. So bit there, bit there. It's got a much bigger dofer actually than the other one, but it's still, yeah, you can still be relatively precise with it. Bit there, and then how did I do on that side? Whee! There we go. Oh, it does look a bit paler actually than probably is a little bit paler than the shade I got in Kosas there. And then just going to use one of my, probably use a clean, fluffy Dull Beauty brush, which I really like actually for under eye concealer. I just feel like it sort of blends it out nicely. That's what I'm trying to say. Around the edge of the nose, down the labial folds, I believe is the word for those. And then this is just really just to help make my cheek look more carved, snatched. Hopefully is the is the vibe. You know, if you don't have cheekbones, draw them in. And then, so just to be fair on the concealers, I have only used that one side of the brush for that side. I'm going to flip it over and use the other side for the other one, so you don't get any of the residue. But as you will hopefully see, the Rimmel one also blends in really nicely. Hand on heart, I would probably say the Kosas one wins out for me, just from a sort of longevity, non-creasing, fully perspective. But considering Kosas is about 26, whereas the Rimmel one I think is under a tenner, you know, it's there's not a lot in it, to be fair. Honestly, the more I do this, the more I talk, I'm like, why do I spend so much money on high-end makeup? Because so many of the high street brands have really upped their game in the last few years, and you really do have some fantastic finishes at much more sensible prices. Sort of, that's why my husband gets so annoyed with my makeup buying, because yeah. So looking at both sides, sunk slightly into my under eye crease, but I mean every concealer does, to be fair. Just trying to get a feel for if I can see any difference. Not really. And if I didn't know which side had put on which, I don't know if I could have told you which side was on which. I'm just going to do a tiny bit of brightening, just for fun, and just to sort of, so see, the Hourglass one has a really fine little pointy dofer, which is really good for getting in the corner. As you can see, it's definitely bright ivory in the revealer concealer. To do a similar thing on the other side. Just a tiny bit in there, like that. I'm going to blend those out as well, just to really open up the inner eye with some added brightness. I don't do this every day, I have to say. This is more of a full-on, you know, if I'm doing full beat glam, as they say, will I do a kind of brightening inner eye, or if I'm wearing, like, you know, dark eye makeup and I sort of really want the eyes to look, again, quite, wow. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, the brightening brightens. Now I'm going to do liquid highlighter. So on this side, the Rare Beauty in shade Enlighten. Up there. So that's, you can see just, oh, just the glow that stuff brings me joy. And then the Made by Mitchell blush, what works better with this is you put it on the back of your hand, put your brush in it there, so you really kind of get it into the bristles, and then do it on your face. But I feel like for fairness of application, I want to do it in the same way I did the other side. I haven't actually worn this for ages, so I can't actually remember how this looks. Can you see the glow? Yeah, actually it's picking up pretty well. Let's have a look in the mirror. Funny enough, the Made by Mitchell has more of a sort of glitter to it. So this one just looks like a sheen, I suppose, like a sort of wet look sheen. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look, you know, you can tell I've got something on it. I'm not saying you can, it's natural, but this one definitely, there's more of an obvious sparkle. I'm just going to take you over to the window and show you a natural light, because I said whilst the cream, before I start powdering everything down. So here we go in natural daylight, if you can call it that in England. So again, can you see the sparkle? Not really. Sorry, drop the coin. There you go. That is. Sorry, I'm literally lean into the window because it's not very bright today. That is the Skin cream products on in natural light. And I think, I mean, you might disagree, I think they look so similar. I honestly couldn't tell you side to side which one's looking nicer. Okay, so now we're going to do the powder stage. And what I start off with, given I'm sort of doing slightly more full-on makeup because I'm trying everything out, is I will do an eye brightening powder first, and then I will do powder the rest of the face. So on the high-end side is a product which I've had for a couple of weeks because I picked it up in the airport. and I'm literally in love with it. I think it's like my favourite discovery of the year so far. It's the Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder, and I have it in the shade Light. This stuff, it does what it says in the tin. It blurs the under eyes. The main thing I found amazing about it though is I literally have not reapplied makeup under my eyes, you know, even after a day at work, since I've had it, which is amazing. Even things like Charlotte Tilbury, which are like my ride or die powder, you still like if I'm going out in the evening, I will reapply. This I don't, and I don't, you know, it just, yeah, I'm a big fan. And I think from memory it was about 20, I'm going to say around 25. It could have been 24, it could have been 26, I can't remember. And I got it at the airport, so again, I don't know if that's a different price. So yeah, this stuff, I mean, obviously it's always when you compare it to non-powder stuff, it looks different, but it's just, you know, it's removed that line, it's blurred, it's sort of soft focus. It's very hard to beat that. Now the comparison one I have is, again, actually made by Mitchell product. It's his Eye Lights powder palette. Now this is in the shade Starlight, which I think might be the lightest one he does. So they're basically just 4 different powders, which, as you can see, I mean, are all pretty pale because they are literally too bright in the under eye. Now I think, given that's light, I'm going to go for Orb, which is the lightest one that he does. So I'm going to go into the same powder puff and just see. I haven't sort of played with this one very much, so I'm not, because as I say, I tend to only sort of go to this much effort of doing a different powder and things when I'm going full on out, which I haven't been out enough. It's been January, it's been boring. So, I mean, again, with the light on the camera, they look identical. In person, in the mirror, funny enough, I would say, actually, side by side, the Pat McGrath one, I can still see creases when I'm up close, which, I mean, your skin has creases. I'm in my late 30s, of course my skin has creases, so I don't get sort of too bent out of shape about it. As long as it doesn't as long as it doesn't make them look worse, you know, then yeah, I don't care. This side actually has gone in with very few creases, so slightly less matte. This one is like fully matte down. This one I can still see a bit of sheen of the skin or the makeup coming through. So we'll see which one wears better over the day. And then for rest of face powder, on the high end side, I'm going to go the Givenchy Prisme Libre Pressed Powder in the shade Val Rose. Obviously, I know, most people normally rave about the loose powder of this, but they've changed formula and it's now got mica in it, which makes it sheeny, which I don't like, whereas this probably still has talc in it, which is what the other one used to have, and that's why they took it out, because, you know, talc's not necessarily good for you. So I prefer the look of this. Anyway, waffling, sorry. But I'm just going to use this to sort of go over the face. I'm going in with a brush. You could go in, it goes really well with the powder puff, like I was using under my eyes. But I don't want a full, like, matte coverage. I want some of my natural, I want some of the natural glow to come through. So I find a brush, you know, is slightly less like, oh, let's fully matte down my face. Around the nose, because I think that's where I always start to look sort of greasy first, and just over the eye a bit. There we go. See, it's still got a glow comes through. That's why I really like this powder. Like, it, you know, it does set it down matte, so you don't look like an oil slick, but you still get a bit of natural skin. And then for the other side, I'm going to go in with Beauty Crop Pore Filter Pore Blurring Pressed Powder. I love this stuff. I've got it in several different shades, you know, translucent. They do, you know, range of shade, you know, light to darker, translucent. This actually is in pink, which I bought initially just to go under my eyes, but actually, because the Wild Rose is a pinky shade, I thought this was a good match. You can also see I've literally almost run out, so it looks disgusting because there's almost nothing left in it. Probably should order. I think I've got another one sitting upstairs. I probably should use that, but I'm determined to get the last of it out, even though you know, again, price point difference is massive. I think I got this for like £8 on the TikTok shop, possibly in a special offer. I think the RRP might be a bit more than that normally, but as I say, you're always getting deals. Whereas I think the Givenchy one is, oh, don't come for me, I can't remember. 30 something, late 30s probably. But they, you know, I sometimes think, you know, powder's powder at the end of the day. You know, pick the one you can afford and you like, right? Jesus. So again, on camera, I think they're pretty similar. In person, highly similar. You know, you can still see a bit of the highlighter, the liquid highlighter coming through. You can definitely, once you've powdered, funny enough, the Made by Mitchell highlighter, maybe I just picked a bad one, because it definitely now just looks like glitter. It doesn't have the kind of sheeny highlighter look. It just looks like I've got sparkles on my face, which, you know, I don't care. Some people might. Powder bronzer over cream bronzer, you know the drill. You know, I always do it. So for the high-end side, I'm going to go for classic NARS. This is NARS Laguna. This is in matte, which I think is a bit more of an intense pigment than the sort of the standard one, which has a tiny bit of a shimmer to it. But I don't know where that is, so I'm gonna use this one. So I'm gonna be quite light with it, because I tend to just, you could sort of swirl it on. I just quite like pressing it in, because I don't want to risk moving everything else. But get up over the forehead, over the high points, basically where you would naturally hit the sun. And then obviously this is not a high point, but this is the attempt to reduce my chins by one at least. And yeah, just carve in the cheekbone. I mean, you can't go wrong with NARS matte bronzer, or any of their bronzers. I think they are just a gorgeous colour. I think Laguna, which is the classic, the original, for my skin tone, it's great. It looks great, always does, always love it. And then for the high street side, going to go for the NYX. So these went viral last year, the buttermilk bronzers. I've got it in the shade Butter Biscuit. It's the only one I have. So I was a bit pushed for finding a matched Laguna, because it's a slightly cooler toned brown than the classic. They look quite different. I recognize this. So this could be where it all goes wrong and making both sides look the same, but I was limited on choices. So we'll just, and this one also is quite a feral, it can be quite a feral pigment. So you want to be, you know, sparing, go in light and you can build it up. But it also smells really nice. It smells like holidays to me. I don't know if that's like the coconutty sort of sun creamy smell, I'm not sure. But it is really nice. The only annoying thing about it, which I also really appreciate from a sort of environmental recycling point of view, if they don't put mirrors in the mall anymore, because it's definitely not recyclable with that. So there's no mirror, which I find quite irritating sometimes. But I have to fight back the irritation with the recognition that it's a good thing. To be more eco-friendly, recycling conscious. There we go. Have I done it evenly? Let's have a look in the mirror. Yes, looking bronzy, looking great. Fine. Sorry, looking great. Well done, me. Then blushes. I am for the high street side. I'm going to carry on with NYX, just because it was the most similar colour mix to my high-end one. So this is the Buttermilk Blush, which also came out last year, and this is called You Know Butter. They do love a punny name. So this is a sort of pinky corally shade with a slight, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, slight sheen to it. It's really nice. It is also really bright. You have to be careful. That is definitely one where I've got ready in a rush or in the car, and then I've walked into my friends and been like, you need to sort that out because I look like I've got stripes. Anyway, for the high-end side, back to Rare Beauty. She fucking nails skin products. This is in the shade Happy. which is a really pretty, and as you can see, again, it's a really shimmery blush. So they're sort of, yeah, I mean, they're relatively similar. This one is ever so slightly pinker. This one's more corally, but I think they'll be fun. So I'm gonna go make a change, go into the High Street one first this time. I mean, you can see when it picks up, I was a bit heavy-handed, so I'm gonna turn my hand pink, because yeah, that's, if you're not careful, you absolutely just, yeah, give yourself a full, very, I mean, I can be blush blind at the best of times, but even I, you know, can recognise that was a lot. So there we go. I always like, and the other thing nice about things, I mean, I will put highlighter on as well, because I always do, but because they've got that sheen in them, you know, it's kind of got that lifted look to it. And then with the, also picks up quite a lot, as you can see. And this one probably has more of a sheen to it. It's definitely, I mean, she does sheens in her products, in her highlighters really well. This one is a slightly more subtle sheen. So I would have to try and balance that up, maybe a bit more highlighter on that side when I get to it, so I don't look different. So yeah, so those are the blushes and bronzers. And then last but by no means least, highlighters. These are actually, I think, probably the closest dupes I've got. I was so amazed with the La High Street version of this, because this was the first thing of Rare Beauty I ever bought, which is the highlighter, and I just think it's gorgeous. It's, you know, it just doesn't pick up in this light, but it's the most beautiful highlighter. Sorry, I have a couple of different colours. This is the shade in Light, in which is lightest. I also have Mesmerize, which is a slightly more sort of pinky goldy version, but I just think it's like the most buttery soft. It is also the most fragile thing ever. I've gone through, having saved up, or not, you know, bought it in New York, I've had to buy it twice more since, because I've dropped it and it just smashes beyond repair. Because it's, and I don't know all the technicalness, but it's about the way it's created, and the reason it's so soft and buttery smooth is also why it is quite so fragile. There is some reason, I cannot tell you why. Look at the Lipstick Lesbians. She is brilliant on product knowledge, and she can tell you why, but if you look at some of her videos. Anyway, on the low end side, this thing is amazing for the fact that the Rare Beauty one is probably, I want to say 24 quid. This, I think, is about under a tenner. This is the Revolution Diamond Glow, is the best, I think, of all the ones they've done. So if you can find this one particularly, really good. But yeah, it has such a similar effect. It's a much harder, so if you, I mean, I didn't really show you, but with the Rare Beauty one, you just like touch the brush into the thing, and then it picks up. This one, you know, rub a little bit more to pick up the similar amount, but that's because it's a slightly harder formula. But it also means it's far less breakable. So this one is what I actually travel with, because I'm fed up of replacing the Rare Beauty one. So they don't leave the house. They don't leave a very safe spot on my dressing table where they're not going to get knocked off. Because actually the last time I had to replace them was because my husband knocked it off. And he had to buy another one for me, which he didn't enjoy. Whereas this one I can cart around in my makeup bag and it doesn't smash, which is nice. So there we go. Powder products, all on. Right, eyes, because this video is taking far too long because I can't stop talking. I'm going to start off with an eye base. So I've got, for the high-end side, stuff that I wear all the time, what I keep on talking about is the Armani eye tints. This is in the shade 18M Beige, which is a matte beige colour. The High Street version I've got is the Kiko Pearly Eye Base. See if they make any difference in how they hold the colour on top. I mean, you know, the Armani one particularly, you know, this is not an eye base. It's not made to just go under eyeshadow. It's made, you know, it's an eye tint in its own right. You could wear this just on its own. They wear pretty well just on their own. They really, that's why I love them so much, because they really take, they don't crease quickly. You know, they last for a long time. you know, you kind of blur them. You can see I'm doing here, you sort of blur the edges pretty easily just with a fluffy brush, and sort of not have a harsh line, especially with the dark colours. And they just look great. But for this, you know, it really helps hold the colour on, which I like. And then the Kiko one is obviously it's a different sort of formula. It's thicker. Ooh, comes out like that. I mean, you can see they're not exactly the same. Definitely, as you put it on, I mean, obviously it's sheeny slightly, not very actually. Which the other one's not. The other one's matte. Feels slightly stickier, this one, which is unsurprising given it's meant to be a primer, so it's designed to hold your eyeshadow on, so that's why it's a bit stickier. Actually, before I go any further, I am just going to do a bit of a spritz, just to sort of melt all the powder I've put on together so far. I'm going to go with a moisturising spray, or sort of a hydrating spray at this stage, and then at the end I will do another setting spray, which is like the kind of lock-in place one. But for the high street end, I'm going to go for a Beauty Crop Dewy Bounce and Set Mist, which all the Beauty Crop sprays I think are amazing, but either at, you know, melting and making everything look lovely and together, or really helping it stick to your face. For the high-end side, I'm going to go for the Iconic London. You can see it's got a real sheen to it, so it is definitely shinier than this one, but hopefully it won't matter too much. And in order to make it fair, I'm going to try and hold a bit of paper up over one side and the other, so that when I spray, I don't cheat. So high street side. Hope that worked. Just going to dry that down a bit. And then, high-end side. Ooh. I'm going to ruin this bit of paper because it's going to be covered in gold glitter. I mean, I have to say, the Beauty Crop one wins for being less of a aggressive spray. I love the Beauty Crop one. All of theirs, actually, they've got really good sprays. Like, they're really fine mist. So you can sort of get, you know, not too much and not in your mouth. Whereas, yeah, the Iconic London one is a bit more of an aggressive, wet spray. So, eye makeup looks. Gonna go for a sort of bronzy, goldy look, which is pretty standard for me. But two really similar eyeshadow palettes, very different price points, which I think is really good. So, high-end Pat McGrath Labs. You know, this is one of her Bijou Brilliance eyeshadow palettes. This is in the shade Bronze Ecstasy. Yeah, she is the absolute queen of fantastic kind of finishes. I love that one. I did that. I was at a friend's wedding about a year or so ago, and ended up doing the makeup for myself and a couple of the other bridesmaids, because the makeup artist was let go shortly before the wedding, so there was no one else to do it, and that was what I used, and it was great. Anyway, and then for the high street side, look at that, so similar. It's like they were inspired. This is MUA 5 shade eyeshadow palette in the range Bronzed. I love these. Again, I have about 3 of these because they are something ridiculous, like £4 or £5 for this. And the colour payoff and the pigment and the glitter and the staying power, honestly, it's right up there. Like, her shimmers and things, like, she has some amazing effects, and you know, she can do things with product. I don't know how she doesn't get the finishes and effects, but you know, that is probably the best part of 50 quid. It's the best part of a £5. You know, you're not going to be missing anything hugely if you went for the high street fashion. I'm going to go first of all in just with on this one, on the sort of neutral brown shade, into the crease, just to kind of build some depth in there. Obviously as a hooded eye person, I'm going above the natural crease so that when my eyes shut, you can actually see it. Then I'm just going to also bring that shade just into the outer sort of third along the lash line. Just to kind of deepen there. Great. And then I'm going to go in with the darker sparkle, which is, there's not really, I'm going to be light with this because the other one definitely doesn't go this dark, but I'm just going to darken up that outer bit with this shade. Then I'm going to go in with the lightest shade because, yeah, I want to keep the eyes quite neutral because I am doing I think I'm going to do a red lip. So I don't want to go, you know, don't do lips and eyes, one or the other. And then I might just go in with a bit of the middle goldier one just over the middle to sort of blend it. I might just go with my finger just to kind of blend the pale into the dark a bit more. Then I'm going to recreate very similar vibes with this side. So I'm going to go in with the darkest brown shade into the crease. As you can see, the pigment payoff is very strong. So actually, in some ways, you have to be much more careful with this. That's often the difference between high-end and high street. You can sort of tell when you're blending. Like often high-end ones, you know, that's where they stand out. They're so much creamier and easier just to blend and meld together really smoothly. High street ones, you can absolutely do it. You just takes a little bit longer. And then I'm going to go in with again, the darker bronze just over there. And then I'm going to go into the lightest shimmery shade over the bulk of the eye. Now, do they look the same? I think those are looking pretty similar. There we go. Then eyebrows. So for my high-end side, it's basically what I wear every day. It's the Benefit because I'd say they're sort of mid-high end. Yeah, they're probably what, 20 quid per thing roughly for Benefit brow stuff. They're precisely my brow pencil, Gimme Brow. It's what I wear pretty much every day. It's what I wear in pretty much every video I will ever put on here. Because they are, I think that's where Benefit, you know, they absolutely smashed out the park. Their brow products are, they're very, very good, really good. Good range of shades. I have the pencil in shade 3.5, which is in mid-neutral brown. And then I wear Gimme Brow in shade 3, which is medium brown, I think. But I love the Precisely My Brow because it's really fine. It's a twist up if you don't have to worry about sharpening it, which I love. I never have a sharpener when I need one. And yeah, it's just, yeah, big fan. And then if you think you've gone a bit too heavy, you can just kind of brush it through again. Boom. Gorgeous. Alternative for the other side is Wet n Wild. Which I'm not sure. I think I got this in an advent calendar. I'm not sure where you buy Wet n Wild. But this is a retractable eyebrow pencil. So very similar vibe. This is in the shade medium brown. Similarly, it's got a brush on one end, spoolie on one end, and pencil on the other. I'm going to brush that too, make sure I haven't got too much foundation stuck in it. It's quite a different brush, pencil tip. It's not got the fineness of the Benefit one by any means. It's quite a sort of angled thing. If you're wanting to be more precise and actually do brush strokes, you know, hair strokes, then, you know, Benefit one wins because it's not so precise. But equally, if you just want to fill in, this is a lot quicker because it's a much bigger thing. So, you know, it's whatever you want. I also realised I put this in the high end and the low end side. I've actually got no idea if it is low end prices. Maybe I should double check that before I post this, but anyway. And then my comparison for the Gimme Brow, which, you know, for the sort of brow wax, I love this. You know, it's a really small little brush, so you can be quite precise about where you're placing it. And it really, I think for me anyway, it holds my brows down. And then on the other side, for the high street side, this is something I've only just seen come out, but I'm really enjoying it. It's the Maybelline Super Fluff Brow Mousse. And this is in the shade, I have no idea. Oh, soft brown, 255 soft brown. It's a very similar vibe, very similar brush, bigger spoolie. It does actually look slightly lighter than the other one. It is really nice, I have to say, and it does definitely, I can see why they call it fluff, because it kind of, yeah, sort of, there's definitely a thickener to it, a bit like the Gimme Brow. So there we go. Very similar sisters, not twins. What else is left? Eyeliner. Now, I'm afraid this is the one place that my comparison is going to fall over, because I just don't have any high-end liquid eyeliners. Never bought them. I've always hugely rated high street liquid eyeliners. You know, from when I started wearing makeup until probably a year or two ago, I only ever wore Rimmel Exaggerate Eyes liquid eyeliner in black. It was my favourite thing ever. They then changed the formula and it didn't last as well. And by magic, I then discovered this, or serendipitous magic. So this is the Made by Mitchell Graphic eyeliners. This actually in the shade Brownie Points. He does it in loads of different colours. But I love this because it's like a very, very dark brown. I really like the precise tip. I like the fact it stays well. I like the fact it's brown. You know, there's lots of things I like, but I'm afraid it's having to go on both sides because I don't have anything to compare it to. God, I'm not done even wings. I'm so bad at wings, honestly. If I get them the same, it is purely luck, never judgment. Now, all that's left, at last, mascara and lips. Before I do mascara, though, I am going to do face spray, setting spray, because I don't want to risk smudging it. So my two sides are, for the high street side, the NYX Face Glue setting spray, transfer resistant makeup setting spray. I really like this. I've been using it recently. I think I definitely feel like it holds my makeup on for longer. Then for the high end, I'm going Urban Decay All Night setting spray. This is in the shade Ultra Matte. I love this stuff. Yeah, and this is probably what, late 30s, I think, for the big bottle. You can get the travel size ones, which are cheaper, whereas this is probably between £5 and £10. So again, quite a big price point. Different price. So let's go high street. Oh, knocking my makeup over. Sorry if you can hear the dogs barking in the garden. There's just been a cat jumped on the fence. So, right, NYX side first. Shiny. And then let's go Urban Decay. Both got quite similar sprays, actually. They're both not the gentlest, but not too bad. So, mascaras. I don't have that many high-end mascaras, actually. It was a toss-up between, I've got a MAC Stack, which I don't often wear. One of my friends obviously adores this thing. Average for me. But the high-end one I do love is the YSL Lash Clash mascara. This is, at the moment, the only one I've got electric blue, but that won't match the other one. So this is the waterproof one, hence the beautiful, I mean, it's just so sexy, blue. But they're the brown version of Lash Clash. It's one of my favourite mascaras. And then for the high street side, I could have had any number because I love high street mascaras. I love Maybelline. I think, you know, Maybelline Sky High, Maybelline Surreal Falsies, some of my most favourite ones. Just for a change though, I'm going to go for the L'Oreal Panorama because I've been really enjoying this recently, actually. So I think both of you, I'm not going to curl my lashes, so you'll get them absolutely naturally as they are. Let's go high end first. So the Lash Clash, I mean, it's a huge brush, so you've got to quite enjoy that. I really like the volume it gives me. It's not hugely lengthening. It does just have a really lovely, I think, sort of full finish. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. Sadly, I would say though, I'm not sure it's the best waterproof mascara. Like, it's a lovely mascara, but you know, I've worn this and gone swimming and definitely ended up with pounder eyes. So yeah, maybe it's water resistant, not waterproof. That is probably the only high-end mascara that I do buy. High street version, L'Oreal Panorama. So this is, it's a rubbery brush, and it's got this interesting tapered finish. So actually, it's quite good for sort of capturing, which I suppose is probably why it's called Panorama. You know, all the lashes across your whole eye, the whole panorama of your eye, I suppose. Mascara just is, it just is like the #1 product for me, I think. You know, if I had to have only one makeup product for the rest of my life, it would be mascara. Not saying I know which brand or what one, but it would be the one product I couldn't do without. Here we go. What do we think? I mean, it does seem nuts to me that, I mean, probably if I added it, maybe I will add up all the products I put on one side in value versus all the products I put on the other side in value. What the difference would be, and then what the difference actually looks like, and what the difference looks like at the end of the day. Because I might really depress myself with that. Anyway, last but by no means least, lips. I'm going for red liquid lipstick because it's the only things I could find that could compare. But I'm going to do lip liners in nude because I think that's more interesting. I think red lip liners, you know, they look pretty similar. Anyway, God, I'm waffling. Right, so for the high-end lip liner, absolute fucking classic, MAC lip liners. They're outstanding. They have been for years, decades now at this point. And this is in Spice, which of all MAC lip liners is probably one of also the most classic, most bought, well-known ones. It is a sort of warm neutral. In fact, I'm just going to sharpen it because that would be better. Right, there we go, sharpened, better. So yes, it's that kind of shade. And the reason I like these kind of shades is I often quite like to overline a bit, and I find they're a really good shade for that. So there we go, you see, looks nice. They last pretty well. They're just really nice. They've got such a good range, shade range. Yeah, I mean, the MAC's classic. Now, for the high street version, Rimmel Lasting Finish Lip Liner. And this is in the shade 725 Tiramisu. Very similar shade colour. Let's see, it's slightly less warm than Spice. And actually, MAC just have brought out their Cool Nudes range, and they've brought out Cool Spice, which, if this is too orangey a shade for you, try Cool Spice. It's amazing. It's slightly more similar to this. But I think for this purpose, it's close enough that it won't matter too much. You know, you can get a very similar overline effect. They're both really creamy. They go on really nicely. It's good. I like. Right, and then finally, lipsticks. For the high-end side, gonna go Fenty. Gonna go the Fenty, what's it called? Fenty Beauty Velvet Liquid Lipstick. And this is in the shade the MVP, which you can sort of see there where the writing is. You can see the colour of it. I don't reach for this as much as I should do, probably just because it is such a strong pigment and it's a really liquid. I mean, it dries down matte, but it's a liquidy liquid, and a number of times I just got it everywhere. Unless I've got time to sit and do it properly and not rush, it scares me slightly, but it is good, and it does last. Now for the other side, I'm going to go with the Revlon, what are these called? The Revlon Matte Resistance Lipstick. This is in shade 400 Spill the Tea. So the Fenty one, it's quite a sort of, I don't know if you can tell, it's quite sort of a moussey sort of liquid. And it's quite thick, which is why I found I sort of take up most of it off on the side. of the tube. But it's got a nice sort of pointed dofer, so you can really get into the edge. It's really weird to do it just on one half of your lips. There we go. Maybe I should go out that. Would that look fine? Yeah. Now, here's where I'm hoping the colours are a similar enough match. I'm not going to look like a crazy person. Although to be fair, if this is the one thing I have to take off to go out, that's all right. Although I want to do the wear test, so I don't really want to take it off. Anyway, this one also really fine dofer, so you can really get into the edge. Slightly more liquidy, less moussey sort of formula. It is slightly more orange than the Fenty one. I'm going to look at it in daylight in a second. There we go. That is the look done. I'm going to take you into natural light just to see what you think. And there we go. In daylight, I look very shiny in daylight. Clearly the ultra matte setting spray isn't that matte. Now the lips, I mean, yeah, it does look a little bit more obvious. I've got half one, half the other. So full disclosure, I might have to, yeah, pick one to go across both sides so that I don't look like I've just, yeah, did something funny. But the rest of the makeup, I mean, can't tell it's different brands, different price points, anything. I think the test will be when I get back home this evening, seeing which side looks better, and I will do no touching up between now and then. I won't go with powders or anything. I'll just let it ride and see how it looks when I get home. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do something about the lipsticks, because yeah, that's well, as you can see, the Fenty one is just, sorry, my cowbells are just touched. Yeah, it's definitely a different red. So I'm gonna sort that out, but everything else will be absolutely as you see it now. All right, see you later. So just a quick check-in on the makeup. It is now about 6 hours since I put it on, so I thought I would just come and see how both sides look. And apologies, I know the lighting here is awful. In the bathroom, it's let me just put my head back. There we go, so you can see it. So I mean, both sides are looking probably equally shiny. The oil's coming through, you know, on my nose. It's pretty much the same whether looking at the high street side or the high-end side. Eyebrows, both looking pretty similar. Mascara, actually, this was the Lash Clash waterproof YSL one, has dropped all over my under eye, whereas this one, which was the L'Oreal Panorama, I mean, a tiny bit, but not really. So win for the high street side. Eyeshadows, can we see which one looks better? Actually, again, quite similar, bit of creasing in the, just in the deepest crease there, less on that side, but the colour's maybe worn off a bit more. So actually high-end, low-end eyeshadows pretty much the same. High-end blushes and powders versus low-end. Highlighter, I mean, the highlighters on both sides are both glowing for it still. So winner for Revolution and Rare Beauty. Lipstick, I ended up going over both sides with the Fenty Beauty just to make them both the same colour. I mean, yeah, it's still there. It still looks very red. It oxidizes darker, I think, than it is when you first put it on. So it's still really good. But I would say, and this is probably another reason why I don't wear this one very often. I mean, it's fine. I've literally only drunk a iced coffee, so with a straw. 6 hours. There is still that much transfer coming off, which is why I often don't wear it, because once or twice when I've been out, I've forgotten, I've touched myself, looked at my finger, realised I've got it all over myself. So like you can see here, it's kind of not stayed direct, you know, it's kind of smudged a bit. And I just find that a bit annoying in a lipstick. Like, it's great that it lasts so long, but I don't like the fact that it still is transferring so much all over the place. And if I wipe my mouth, if I itched, you know, it would be coming off on everything like that. So it's a bit of a nightmare from that respect. It is definitely very shiny. Maybe I just didn't put enough powder on today, because normally I don't look quite this shiny. But yeah, there we go. I would say high end versus low end. They're very similar. Can't really see much difference. Foundations haven't really started to split too much on either side. Just shiny. I would just powder both sides down and carry on. Anyway, hope this has been remotely interesting, helpful, useful, etc. See you next time. Bye. 11 hours on, quick check-in, just so I'm about to take it all off for bed. Lipstick has pretty much all come off, having now eaten supper, apart from, weirdly, just the top lip line, like a sort of small red moustache. Mascaras, well, Lash Clash got even worse. Very smudgy. L'Oreal Panorama, no worse than it was several hours ago. Although the eyeliner on the sides come off, but I use the same eyeliner on both sides, so that's probably more about my eyes. Eyeshadow now much better held on this side. Don't know whether that's down to the Pat McGrath eyeshadow or the Armani eye tint underneath. Eyebrows looking the same both sides. Highlighter, skin looking pretty much similar on all sides. Not too, I mean, it's sort of separated or come off a bit around my nose, but all in all, I think High Street stands up to high end. Yeah, pretty happy. All right, see you. Night.